another show.
Oh God, we're live.
You're gonna do this show now? Boom, 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 boom.
Are we ready? Shh.
Bum, 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 bum.
This is live. It's live. Ten seconds. Everyone can hear you. Everyone can hear you.
Houston.
We have a problem.
Houston. Houston.
Hold on.
He's a
Oh my
problem.
God, it's time to start. Hey, welcome everybody to our live stream.
We're the Waterstreet Blues Band, and this is Talking About Live, coming at you every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or 3 o'clock in the morning, Borneo time.
Borneo time.
Oreo time. Time for Oreo.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. This is we're the Waterstreet Blues Band. I'm Rob. I'm the guitar player in the Waterstreet Blues Band. And over to my left is...
I'm Sylvia. I play keys and squeeze, that's accordion, in the Waterstreet Blues Band.
And I'm Paul. I play bass
Oh my
guitar.
Just
Paul, I think you're a little too close to the mic. I think it's
He's
called...
Can you hear me?
It's called proximity
Hey,
effect.
Joe.
It's called...
Hey, Joe, can you hear me?
No, it's
Let
called...
me know if you can hear me.
No, it's called proximity effect. You need, that's better. Much better.
Whoosh.
Hey, and this is Fluffy, guys. And Fluffy is our engineer, also our accordion tech. And he doubles as my chiropractor. And guess what this weekend is, Fluffy?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Is it Greek Easter this weekend?
No. This is just the practice.
You,
it's the practice.
you terrorize that poor rabbit.
I know.
Aw.
That's big. And we have a tremendous show lined up tonight. Our guest is coming from far away in an undisclosed location.
We don't know.
Somewhere on it. We don't even know.
We
I don't
actually
think we're
don't.
ever going to know.
We're never
I
going
don't-
to
we're
mean,
never
we could
gonna
be
know.
talking about this for years.
The government's keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, it's on a. My guess is that it's an island of just him and UFOs,
Could be.
but just the spaceships. Anyway, guys, we have a really cool guest today from somewhere in the Pacific. He's a celebrated Canadian poet. He's a rhymester, a raconteur, and just a lovely person. His name is Peter Paul Van Camp. And we're really excited about the show, and we're excited to have this kind of variety. Today's about poetry. Last week was about
Big bands.
music. This week is about poetry. Next week is going to be garbage
bad grammar and bad grammar.
And bad grammar.
and bad grammar. It's going to be the garbage show. No, today's our last good show. No, next week's also going to be good. So great.
okay.
So what's going on? What's going on? What's today?
Well,
What's the
well,
news?
You know what? Today we usually do
What's
a-
the status?
We do a shout out today. Today's March 31st. So, but we are going to do what we do, which is shout out to our local community. And today we'd like to express gratitude for all of our essential workers. We talk about it every week. This is the year of the health and care workers, but it's also very important that we thank our food workers. They're the unsung heroes of the COVID pandemic. And we all know someone who's working in this food industry to make sure that we're all fed during these times.
Hi, Brett. Thank you, Brett.
And it happens to be Cesar Chavez Day, March 31st in the States, and he dedicated his life to better working conditions for migrant workers, and it's still very current today, especially during these times. It's not the easiest work, and in the conditions now with the pandemic of trying to keep safe, it's been quite a challenge. We work in close proximity to one another. And of course, the living conditions are not ideal for staying 6 feet apart. So a lot of different organizations are trying to make a difference. There's one in Niagara that's called the Migrant Farm Workers Project, and they do everything they can to support the migrant workers in the Niagara area, including these bicycle deliveries. And also the Migrant Workers Alliance for Change supports the self-organizations of migrants, also based in Ontario. And very soon, we know that migrant workers will be prioritized for the COVID-19 vaccine for this season. So thank you to all of our essential workers, especially this week to
Thank you.
our food workers, just like
And thank you.
Alexa Elliott says, thank you, thank you, thank you. One way to say that we're thankful is through our actions, wash our hands,
Keep wearing masks.
Washing your hands is good.
Keep your
too,
distance. If
anyway.
you don't need to go out, then you don't have to go out. Stay at home
And stay strong, man, because
and get the shot as soon as you can get it.
just around the corner.
Baby, be strong, my friend. Baby, be strong.
Okay,
my
good, Paul.
friend.
Great.
That's good.
Oh, I
That's
think it's
good.
Blues Quiz time. It's Blues Quiz time here on
Thanks,
Talking About
everybody.
Live.
Yeah,
this,
baby.
this is the portion of the show where we give away a digital copy of our record. We had the brainwave. It was just a pure genius to release a record right in the middle of a pandemic. We released
I
it.
came up with the idea.
A global pandemic. Yeah.
We released it in 2020, late 2020, and we'd like to give a digital copy of the away to anyone who can guess the answer to this very skill testing question. And this question has been framed in order to honor our guest today, who is a poet of much renown. But this poet was an African American.
Also kind of well known.
Very well known, African American poet, very celebrated, and he wrote these words: with his ivory hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody, oh blues. So this was his poem to the blues. So if you know the name of the poem, and ideally the name of the poet, put it in your comments, and whoever gets the answer to this first, we will contact you after the show, and we'll send you a digital version of our record, Talking About Live. You'll cherish it for a few seconds.
Hey, even if you've guessed before, go ahead, because you can always pass it forward to anybody you want.
Brian, I'm
It's a
sorry.
useful record because the studies that we've done now at universities on that thing, it's actually contributed to the increase in population.
Okay.
It has. It's very. It causes a lot of people to become amorous. And Brian, know the answer. We have our folks commenting already.
Oh, good.
Burt Reynolds is not the correct answer. Pretty close, but
I get it.
It's not even close.
well, maybe not even close. I'll come back to the blues quiz if we don't get any answers. I'll come back to it at the end of the show and see if anyone's done their research. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, watch your cell phones. We're going to plant an answer on one of you, okay?
Joe, thanks for joining us tonight. And we're gonna do a little bit of music right now, and I think both. Yeah, I think we are. I think Sylvia and I and Paul. I think we're gonna do songs by British blues artists.
Blitish.
Blitish. I was just trying to
Blitish.
shorten the number of letters I needed to use in language. I'm becoming more efficient in my speaking. British blues artists. And the tune that Sylvia and I are going to do first was written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. It's a very early Rolling Stones song. And
Baby song.
baby song, yeah. And I think it was written when they were sort of imagining their lives on the road and being tempted by women on the road and knowing that they had partners at home, girlfriends at home, who were their girlfriends' voices were in their heads while they were on the road.
Just,
So I think
for a
we
few
should
seconds.
I think you should just do the song now. Let's see how that.
No, but the song is a warning. It's guys, just listen to the words here. Pay attention.
Okay. Ready?
Are we good?
Yep.
Are we good? All right.
Sitting, thinking, sinking, drinking, wonder what I'll do when I'm through tonight. Smoking, moping, really kinda hoping some little girl will pass on by.
Keep on walking.
I don't wanna be alone. I got a life at home. I remember what she said. She said, my, don't tell lies. Keep fidelity in your head. My, just go to bed.
That's right.
Don't say hi like a spider to a fly. Jump right ahead and you're dead. Set up, fed up, low down, go round, round to the bar in the place I'm at. Sitting, drinking, superficially thinking about some rinsed out blonde on my left.
Me.
Then I said hi like a spider to a fly. Jump right ahead, my web. Sketchy, shifty, she looked about 60. I would have run away, but I was on my own. She told me later she was a machine operator. She said she liked the way I held my microphone. But then I said hi like a spider to a fly. Jump right ahead, my web. She said, my. Don't tell lies, keep fidelity in your head. My, don't tell lies when you're done your show, just go to bed.
That's right.
Don't say hi like a spider to a fly, jump right ahead, my web. A little bit of
Baby Rolling Stones.
baby.
That was wonderful, and I love the lyrics. You know, those guys were kind of mischievous from the very beginning.
No.
She liked the way I held my microphone.
Yeah, well, they got away
that?
with it. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah. Those guys were like, they were ready to get in trouble from the very beginning.
They certainly were.
And how about you, Paul? What are you going
You've
to do
got a
for us
guitar
today?
that's shrunk in the wash.
You know what? I'm going to do a tune that George Harrison wrote, which is kind of an optimistic, fun little blues number. And George Harrison loved ukuleles. And Rob told me a story recently where, and I looked it up too, and he would go around with a van full of ukuleles and just hand them out to people, encouraging them to play. And I really like the idea that it's becoming much more prevalent at schools. And, you know, we've had Gail on the show, Gail Ackroyd, and she's a big proponent of it. So I decided I'm going to do this tune on ukulele tonight, and it's called For You Blue. And I recorded a backing track a little earlier on an upright bass.
Oh,
and now
cool.
I'm going to play the ukulele. So I need to actually put my glasses on to play this thing because it's so tiny. I've got like these big fat bassist fingers. So let's see how this goes, guys.
All right, let's try it on.
For You Blue, George Harrison.
All right.
because you're sweet and lovely, girl. I love you because you're sweet and lovely, girl. It's true. I love you more than anything I do. I want you in the morning, girl. I love you. I want you at the moment I feel blue. I'm living every moment, girl, for you. Loved you from the moment, girl, I saw you. You looked at me, that's all you had to do. I feel it now, I hope you feel it too. Because you're sweet and lovely, girl. Love you because you're sweet and lovely, girl, it's true. I love you more than ever, girl, I do. Rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
All right.
So sweet.
Good job,
so
Paul.
Sweet.
It was very
Thanks,
sweet.
guys. It was a lot of fun. I love George Harrison.
Yeah. He was a
Beautiful soul. Yeah.
great, and a great
Lost
song.
him too soon. Lost him way too soon.
Absolutely, and it's such a tribute that you did that song on the ukulele. It's very cool.
Yeah. Very wonderful person. Incredible.
When Paul
artist.
McCartney in his shows, his 2-hour shows, he will do the song Something, and he does it on ukulele in tribute to George and George's love of ukuleles. It's really a lovely version.
Go out and get a ukulele, guys. They're a great instrument. You can get one for like I think $20, $29. Mine's $5,000, but you can get one for $20, and it's just a great thing to play if you're bored.
I'd like to welcome our viewer from Twitch. Thank you for checking in tonight, and thank you for joining us on Twitch, the platform of the future.
Thank you. Yes, we're going to be joining you one of these days in Twitchlandia.
Yeah, we're going to do a special Twitchlandia only 4-hour talking at least.
Yeah.
We'll do it until we fall asleep.
And I have the soundtrack for it, and I'm going to claim it right now. We're going to play the Flintstones Twitch. That's going to be our intro. Twitch.
I love it. All right.
Sylvia, can we go back to the blues quiz because nobody's guessed it yet? We did get one person who guessed indicating that they know it's not James Baldwin. So any folks who and it's not George Clinton. So I'll keep asking.
Okay.
In honor of our guest today, who is a renowned poet, which African-American poet, celebrated African-American poet, wrote these lines? With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody, oh blues.
Okay.
So if you can tell me, or if you know the name of that poet, or the name of that poem. Then we'll contact you after the show and send you out a copy of our digital version of our latest record.
Yeah, and I might send you some
It's good enough.
cash.
Well, Paul,
What are
I
you
think.
doing?
Oops, there it goes.
Oh,
Your
there it
sound-
is.
Good job, Fluffy. He's back on the ball.
Oh, good. He is. He's not. He's not
Well,
nervous.
he took a break because I heard about the Easter thing. He was like he was in the bathroom
He was
for like
hiding.
an hour.
He was hiding.
He's back now. He's feeling better.
He's good.
I don't know if you guys-
This weekend, Fluffy.
He's quite busy, you know. All the bunnies are quite busy delivering
That poor rabbit.
for the Easter bunny.
Paul, I think today you decided you wanted to celebrate from your vintage vinyl collection. You wanted to celebrate the music of Mexico.
I do, and there's some really wonderful Mexican music. I don't think we talk about it enough, but there have been some incredible.
Paul, before you get started, I do want to say we do have a winner.
Oh,
winner,
we do have
winner,
a
chicken
winner.
dinner.
All right.
I'd like to congratulate Wayne.
Oh my God.
Wayne Drury correctly guessed the answer. The poet, the African-American poet, is Langston Hughes. And I'll tell you a little bit about Langston Hughes. He was a key figure in the Harlem Renaissance movement, which was a movement of black artists in the arts in the 1920s to celebrate and elevate the role of African Americans in the arts at that time. And Langston Hughes was very active in the 20s and the 60s, and he was a poet, he was an author, he wrote 20 books, he was a playwright, a lyricist, a songwriter, and his first book ever won...
You're going on too long.
Extremely.
He won the gold medal for that book.
He's
He was
going down
very,
the
very well
rabbit hole.
educated. He chose to direct his poetry, though, to the lives and the language of everyday people, which wasn't the style of the times. The style of the times was quite esoteric and quite inward, and he wrote in very
Esoteric and inward.
plain and powerful language. Now, the poem that these lines...
You know what? This is
The poem that these lines come from is The Weary Blues. It was published in 1925, and it won Poem of the Year. It was given that honor by the Urban League. And in the poem, when you listen to it, the references to music and color are really metaphors for the African-American struggle and the solace that is drawn from blues music. It's been performed regularly. He performed it regularly many times, and there's recordings of him performing it, mostly with jazz groups. There's a great CBC, black and white CBC recording of him reading the poem to a jazz background. But the really cool one, it's a recording only, is a recording by Charles Mingus in 1958 called Weary Blues, with the narration of almost all the music is done by
Wow.
Langston Hughes. So if you can get that record and listen to it, it's incredible. So I just thought
in vinyl, especially, I guess.
in
Rob.
vinyl, especially.
Who is the winner, Rob?
The winner is Wayne Drury.
Wayne Drury. Wayne, I'll be dropping by at 6 a.m. on Sunday to drop off the CD. I'll ring the doorbell 15 times. I'll socially distance, but I just want to make sure you get up and collect the CD. Do you understand the instructions?
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I think you've got some vinyl to do, Paul.
Yeah, let's try
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's a-
Okay.
Wow. All
Okay,
right,
Wayne.
So,
Okay,
well.
Wayne, are you watching this, Wayne?
Okay.
Wayne, pay attention. Sylvia, go.
Yes. Yes, a little research because I know Paul's got
Wayne,
a collection
pay
coming
attention.
up. But, there happens to be a great organization locally in the Waterloo region that brings together teenagers from Canada and Mexico just to make music. And the language of art has really built a lot of connections between our two countries, more than any ambassador could probably do. So we thought we'd kick that off, Paul. I don't know what your first record is here.
No,
okay.
we've got some really interesting records, and I went into the collection, and we've got some stuff that's kind of fun, and some stuff that's fairly serious. This is a serious one. This is Irma Serrano. She is a national treasure. She's still alive, and she is a very outspoken person. But she had a beautiful voice, and she was on millions of television shows and records. And I think if you're interested in Mexican music, or if your parents have heritage, they may have had some of these records. But this is an important record in the Mexican music world. And you know some more about her, don't you, Sylvia?
Well, I did a little research as I want to do in your collection, and we did find that she was also once a senator. So you know, a lot of involvement in the community, even as a politician.
And, you know, I don't want to disappoint people because we've established a kind of bar, a standard with this vintage vinyl stuff. And you know me, I work really hard to try to incorporate, you know, dummies on record things. And you know, every once in a while this comes up. And Oscar Zamora is one of those guys. And what is the record called? Sal and Pimienta?
Sure, salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. Yeah. And one thing that I'm looking toward finding is ventriloquists that don't try to make their dummies look like them. I reached out to Oscar. I asked Oscar, I said, you know, you're just doing the same old humdrum ventriloquist dummy record cover. You've got to change things up. So let's go to the next record cover. I think he took my advice.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. A little makeover. Yeah.
A little makeover.
A little bit of a makeover, a wig. He got a facelift.
No,
and we did a mold of my hands. I had them shipped to Acapulco where he lives. He placed them on the dummy, so it's like having a little bit of me touching him.
Oh,
that's
you know,
lovely.
I know they're in every one of your collections.
When he's alone with the dummy, he can have my hands touching him.
Okay.
And he can actually even use my hands to do his hair because he has an amazing hair.
See, I think like this one is a little bit of a cheat because if you have a mustache, it's pretty easy to be a ventriloquist because, you know, you can just grow your mustache a little and no one will know. So it's a little bit of, I just thought I'd point that out. Oh, this guy's got a mustache too.
Another thing I want to keep the standards up on are nude performers. And this guy, what's his name, Sylvia, again?
It's Richie Ricardo, not to be confused with Ricky Ricardo.
And you always have to be happy when you dance.
Use my name, listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Feel happy now.
Anyway, he's one thing about him is very little friction with this guy, just because of the nudity. Very smooth, very smooth to work with. Can sometimes be slippery. That's for the benefit of our guest. Okay, and then of course there's no Mexican music without the Vez, and that's translated to English, Elvez. And he's incredible. And those pants, he never got them off. They blew. At one point, they blew.
Okay.
I think and he's a real guy. He's a real guy, and we have the proof.
Yep.
People don't believe. Put it up.
Well,
Fluffy.
he's known as the Mexican Elvis.
Elvis, yes,
yeah.
he is.
We sent Fluffy out on the road to get some tape
he
from
did
it.
a little research. Okay.
Está bien, mamacita, como se quiere, pues está bien. Está bien. Está bien. Está bien.
But who is the mamacita of this orphan? And more importantly, who is his papacito?
It's an orphan.
I've been
So
searching for my
sweet.
two parents, and I think
So
I have
sweet.
narrowed it down to two people, and that could be Elvis, naturalmente,
Like you, man.
and who else could be my mama, pero Charo. Gucci, Gucci.
So cute.
The child of Elvis and Charo.
See, well, you know, they were together they were both in Las Vegas in 1960, which is the time of my conception.
Being in the same city, that's close
See,
enough. In Las
close
Vegas,
enough.
anything can
Can
happen.
happen in Las Vegas.
Whether real or merely a psychic fusion of Elvis and Charo, the
Real.
fallout from their explosive
Real, yeah,
talents
I
is
believe it.
Elvis, the Mexican
God damn
Elvis.
it, it's real.
Love it.
I think it's real, and there's a really interesting. Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead. Charo. We got to talk about Charo. Charo is one of the most underrated people in my opinion, in the entertainment business. You know, everybody thinks of Charo as a comedian because she's a great comedian. She's a lot of fun. She had this shtick. But I kind of feel like she was kind of put in that position to appeal to audiences more than, you know, the other talent that she should have also been focused on, and that's that she was a studied musician. Who did she study under, Rob?
Segovia.
You're kidding.
Andre Segovia, absolutely.
That's amazing. She's studied under Segovia. She's an accomplished classical guitar player. And I know she was on shows performing, but she's still performing, and she is phenomenal. And she, incredible talent. Do we have any tape, Fluffy? Check this part out.
Yeah.
Moxie.
All right.
Wow.
And that's Charo. That was great. And of course.
And couldn't be Mexican Record Collection without Carlos Santana.
You'd be ostracized.
And
you have to talk about this guy.
And we will talk about Santana, but we're going to talk about him in terms of homegrown talent. John McKinley, who was a guest on one of our earlier shows, his birthplace is from New Mexico, Mexican heritage, and he does an amazing tribute to Carlos Santana. We've got a little bit of film of.
He was a guest last year.
We should have him back now that we've got our crap figured out.
I'll make him come back. I'll make him.
That's John McKinley and Darius.
The name of the band is Supernatural Tributo Santana, which in Spanish means a tribute to Santana. Everybody has to dance. They can't just sit down and listen to it. You got to get into it,
Got to do that show again. That's a great show.
Well, those are great vinyl selections, Paul. I think I've gone into my collection for a.
Oh, you did?
I do.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there's my record. It's called I'm Gonna Tell, and it's a record by it's our guest Peter Paul Van Camp, and the wonderful folk stylings of Kathy Fink and the late Duck Donald, and on that record are also a couple of musical contributions from very good friends of mine in the Cast Iron Potty Band, Hugh Malcolmson.
Oh, there you go again.
That was a cool band for the Cast Iron Potty Band.
Sorry.
On that record are some musical contributions from our Cast Iron Potty Band, Fred Dawkins on washboard and Hugh Malcolmson on washtub bass. And
hey, Fred. Hey, Hugh, if you're watching.
And speaking of our guest, Peter Paul Van Camp, we are thrilled that he's on. He's our guest, and we're going to bring him on in just a moment. But I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction. He's Canada's celebrated poet, rhymester, and raconteur. He's appeared at most major and many minor folk festivals and coffee houses in Canada and in many states, delivering his unique poetic observations on life. I've done a little bit of research, and I noted that he's a member of the INS Birdwatchers Association, and he's a graduate of the Tri-State Institute of Gentlemanly Attainments, as well as being the operator of Vintage Versification. So he's a very, very active and very, very busy gentleman.
The VV.
So he was so kind, and he taped his own introduction to his appearance today. So we're going to, Fluffy, can you roll the tape, please? And then we'll bring him on.
This is cool. Fluffy.
Well, hello there. This is Peter Paul Van Camp speaking. When I was 19 years of age and just getting ready to leave my Ohio home for good, my great uncle Neville Clark gave me this Buckeye, this one right here. And I have looked upon this as my lucky piece for the now going on 50 years that I've been operating as a rhymester. I'm going to keep it handy during the upcoming broadcast with the Waterstreet Blues Band people. I'll have my lucky undershirt on as well, and inside out for maximum benefit. But anyway, here's the little poem that goes along with the nut. It's called Buckeye, Look Out for Your Boy. Brother Buckeye, work your charm. Keep this rhymester far from harm. I know you might, I wish you may, lead me out of trouble's way. Oh, keep me out of Dutch today. Oh, I think it's going to be just fine. I'm not worried at all. See you then.
And there we are.
And there we are. Welcome to our production studio.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, folks. Is everything under control?
We hope
Yes.
so.
Am I coming through?
How are
You
things in the Pacific? How is everything going in the Pacific, the whole Pacific?
It's very peaceful out here
Oh.
in the Pacific. And I was out, I stuck my nose out the door earlier this afternoon, and I could smell the fish. So
All is well.
no complaints there.
That's great. So, what should I? How should I address you? What should I call you? Should I call you the whole thing, Peter Paul Van Camp, or Peter, or Peter Paul, or Van Camp?
Yeah, good question.
Okay, that's a fair question, Paul. And people had been asking me this for a long time, and I'll tell you how I came to have a double-barreled first name. It was because my mother and father were fairly amicable, but there are certain things they just could not agree upon, and one of them was what to call me. And so when supper time would come around, my mother would step out on the porch and yell, Peter! And my dad at the same time would yell, Paul. So it would be, Peter, Paul! And all the neighbors hearing this would snicker, I suppose. And when I was on my way home, they would say, sounds like it's supper time there, Peter Paul. Peter Paul. So it kind of adhered to me. And there you have it.
That's just
So you
a
can call
beautiful.
me Specs, just call me Specs because I've been wearing them since I was 4.
I'll
and
call you Peter
that's
Paul because my name is
my other
Paul.
nickname.
My name
Oh.
is Paul too, so I'm happy to call you Peter Paul. So that's an amazing memory to have built in into your name for years, and that's terrific. And can you tell us a little bit about that video and your now growing library of videos on your YouTube channel?
Oh, well, you know how it is with everyone confined to quarters this past year. I didn't want to give up performing altogether. So what I've been doing is I figured out how to work the camera on my iPad here. And you can not only take photographs, but if you press a little button, it turns around and it's looking right at you. And I thought, hey, here's my chance. And so I thought for posterity's sake, I might as well start recording some of these pieces, which I've been writing for years and years now, and gives me a chance, even though no one is there present in the room with me. At least I can tell the story that I like to tell with the poem. And the other thing is, I get ever so many chances to make mistakes and go back and start over. So I'm
like
a
this
little bit nervous about how tonight is going to go because I've become so accustomed to stopping the camera and redoing it whenever I've made a blunder, and I make a lot of blunders. So we'll see how things come out this evening.
It's wonderful. And you know what is beautiful about what you do is that it's an ancient art, and you still got that flag up there, and you keep working on it, and there it is. I am mystified by that binder. That is an incredible document, and I have a few questions about it. Do you mind if I know it's kind of a really precious thing, but
Great, Paul.
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is the things that you use on the pages. Like I've seen you perform. Are those pieces of fabric, or are those just receipts from the gas station?
Normally, I would use strips of newsprint because they tear easily. If you tear from the top of the page, going across it's nearly impossible because you get a jagged.
Oh, I
line.
find that too. Yeah,
if you tear from the top and about an inch width, that gives me room to put the title of the piece or a number, so that I can keep things in order as I'm
and it's hundreds of pages of is the stuff handwritten? Is it typed? Can you show us one?
Well, here's a typed
it's a typed
page.
one.
I used to have a typewriter, but
Peter Paul, that thing is precious. That's got to go in the National Archives one day in the distant.
Well, you know what I did? About 4 years ago, someone had said, "What are you going to do when you lose that binder somewhere?" And I thought, well, that's a very good question. So what I did was I put out a book. Let me see if I can get this. This is a book which contains many facsimiles of many of the original pages, which are in the binder. I couldn't put them all out, but it's a book called "When My Grandmother Cleans My Room" and a good 5 dozen other poems plus one recipe for cornmeal mush, and so at least these would be preserved if the unthinkable occurred and I was.
Let's get them scanned and digitized. Okay, we got to make a deal to do that. And so, since you've got your magic precious binder there, would you be kind enough to give us a recitation?
I would be delighted to.
Thank you.
This is a piece which I'll read you the little preamble here that goes with it, because I put this in the book, and it saves a lot of time if I just read it rather than hem and haw as I'm apt to do. This is a piece about a group to which I belong called the Three Ring Rhymesters. I've been a member since 1977. The Three Ring Rhymesters is a loose association of binder-toting versifiers to which I've been pleased to belong for 42 years. Founded in Worcester, Massachusetts, shortly after the invention in 1886 of the practical three-ring binder, the Rhymesters once boasted chapters in nearly every state and province, as well as Finland and Moravia. Now, today, there are only 14 of us left the world over. Now, this theme piece was composed by myself and Miss Iona Beerwagon. Well, Mrs. Iona Beerwagon, actually, the former Iona Clapper of the famous Clapper sisters, who with her sister Unita were celebrated as the rhyming couplet back in their heyday. Of course, then Unita married Ted Bannister and Iona wed Eddie Beerwagon, and they became homemakers and ceased their rhyming career. Haven't been heard of much since. However, we have this piece, and I'll give it to you right now. Let me get my note. Now, if you like poems, and who does not, come and listen to these poems we've brought. We've reams of rhyme and carloads of odes, a bale of ballads, and who's for an epode? We're the Three Ring Rhymesters, and we'll read for you. Come, fill the halls we advertise. We'll thrill you with our expertise. We'll bring our poems into your home, recite for groups or to you alone. We're the Three Ring Rhymesters, and we'll read for you. Call us in the morning or call at night. No time nor place we can't recite. We're in the cities and small towns too, with a ditty for the many or the few, and we're beaming tonight into Waterloo. We're regular fellas, as you can see. Now, while we don't do limericks, sir or madam, we would not, even if we had them. Well, all right. There once was a gal from Ashtabula. She learned to dance the hula hula. She said with a smirk as she dressed for work, that sort of thing. Not interested We're the three-ring rhymesters, and we mean it too. And while sometimes we go on the air, we'd rather that you heard us where you can tap your foot and join in the chorus. We like to know that you're rooting for us. Yep, we're the three-ring rhymesters, and we'll read for you. Oh, yes, we are. And yes, we do. Yes, yes, we do. Yes. Thank you.
Our studio audience,
It's going wild.
you're wonderful. That's
the way we do it back where I come
that's,
from.
That's incredible. That takes courage. You're a performer, man. You're just a performer at heart. That's beautiful.
Peter Paul.
Yes.
You were
He
born.
answers
You were born in a small town in Ohio, Coshocton, Ohio, and
Yes.
you were there for most of your formative years, weren't you?
I was there until I was 19. That's when I decided I might as well leave. I had been away to school for a year down in a little place on Spittler's Island in the Missouri River. That's where the school you mentioned, the graduate
Gentlemanly
the place.
attainments.
Here's where I would, if I were making a YouTube video, I would press stop and go back. But anyway, I thought, I took it upon myself to go up to Montreal. I thought, Montreal, who knows? I think I'll head up there. And I was delighted with the place. I loved it. And I began my career as a recitalist there because, you see, no one knew me. There was no backstory. There was no Peter Paul. I could just be whoever I chose to be. And
Well,
mind you, I anticipated a question. I think you were going to ask, where did the muse first take a nip?
Well, I was going to ask two questions actually. You grew up with your brother Ralph, and your brother Ralph is a poet of sorts, short poems, and so I was going to ask you, how did the muse? When did it first strike you, and how did you know that poetry was going to flow out of you?
Well, it took a nibble at me first. You see, growing up, I used to hear stories from my grandmother and my great aunt Gladys, in particular, about a chap named Joseph K. Hall, just a little diminutive fellow, about 5'1". He used to come up from Guernsey County, just to the south of Coshocton County. He was born in 1857, same year as my great grandfather, and he died in 1934. But they remembered him when they were girls. He would come up to town. He would walk, or he would get a ride on a wagon, or sometimes take the train, and he would show up on the street corners and he would recite poems. And he was very well known for singing the song "Gathering Up the Shells from the Shore." Gathering up the shells from the shore. That one. And the story they tell is that one time the autumn was coming on, and it was corn cutting season. A lot of corn is grown around Coshocton, and he hired out to a farmer who had given him his dinner, and the farmer asked him to cut some corn. So after a little while, they couldn't find Joseph, and they went looking for him. They found pinned to one of the corn stalks a little note that said, "The corn is tall, and I'm small, so I will cut no more corn this fall. That is all. Joseph K. Hall." And this was the kind of thing that inspired not only myself, but my younger brother Ralph Van Camp, who writes short little 4-line poems from time to time. Here's one of his, if you like.
Yes.
He was going to go to the movies one night. He calls this movie night. It's just a little vignette. Was fixin' to go uptown. In comes a call from mother. Had shaving cream one side of my face, and Ma was on the other. And that's where he leaves us. He doesn't flesh out the story any more than that. Actually, he had a movie to get to, so
It's just,
why spend the time writing when you set the scene so perfectly as that?
There it is.
that's wonderful. And then you found your way to the Yellow Door, the storied coffee house in Montreal. And so
Yes, well, when I got there in 1972 in Montreal, the Yellow Door had been running for about 6 years, and there were 4 or 5 other places where poets and folk musicians could play, but the Yellow Door was the preeminent one, and it's the only one still open. There it is.
There it is.
3625 Aylmer Street, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And it's boy, going back there, I've been going back for the last few years. This was occasioned, they had a 50th anniversary in 2016. And a lot of the old hands from my era, when I was 19, 20, 21 years old, were coming back from wherever they'd gone. A lot of them were in Toronto. I was, by this time, in Nelson, British Columbia. And we had a big reunion, and we all joined in this musty old basement. It hasn't changed very much at all.
Now you can find all of those videos too on YouTube. We found a lot of different performances as well.
Yes. Well, some of them were made on that very weekend, and it was the happiest time. And I've begun to think that when the roll is called up yonder, you could spread some of my ashes in that back courtyard out the back door of the Yellow Door Coffee House, and I'd be quite happy, because that is round back. That's
right.
You can't see it from there, but there's a little place where performers used to gather after the show, and it's the first place where I really felt accepted. And I thought, well, I've fallen into something good here, haven't I? And then I went on to Winnipeg. And
that's where we met. That's where we met. We met at the Winnipeg Folk Festival.
We sure did. At the Folk Festival, and that's where I suppose earned my earliest noisy acclaim, because what I was doing was I was a main stage host primarily, and you have to talk to 8 or 9 or 10,000 people, and you don't want them all to be talking. So what I determined early on was that if I would write the words that I wanted them to say in the form of a chorus, why, they'd be saying
the chorus
exactly
back.
what I wanted to hear, you see. So things like dairy products, or Mama, oh, I want a pancake. Or WOCKENFUSS, Wockenfuss. That's the way you spell it. Here's the way you yell it. Wockenfuss. So I was having my way with them, and it was quite wonderful.
It was absolutely wonderful, and it was the highlight of Winnipeg Folk Festivals for all the years that I attended. Now, there was also another great coffee house in Winnipeg, the Ting Tea Room.
Sure.
And I think we both performed there as well.
Well, I know that we did, because we were there the same night sometimes, and it was again a small, unpretentious place. It used to be a grocery store, from what I hear. It was built as a grocery store, a Piggly Wiggly market, and it became I believe it has been an Indian restaurant in more recent times. But it just, it had enough stage, and it was a place for people like ourselves to go out of an evening, and a good listening room where you could be heard and make new friends, and couldn't be happier.
It was wonderful, and we all became close friends with Al Simmons, who is another national treasure, like as you are, and so Winnipeg was a very special place.
Well, speaking of Al wangled me an invitation just 2 years ago to a nice festival called the Moisture Festival in Seattle, Washington, and boy, the audiences there, they were different than any I had ever seen before, because it's a sort of a vaudevillians festival. And so I was doing things in the way that I'd been doing them for people who had really no background with that kind of entertainment. In the folk world, it's a little different. But here I was playing for a vaudeville crowd, and every time I did a piece, and I was able to do 4 shows there over 4 nights, every audience there gave me a higher place to reach for with every piece. So I would love to go back there again sometime. And I will thank Al again for introducing me to those people.
The Moisture Festival.
Thank you, Al.
The Moisture Festival. What a great name, because it's always raining there.
Well, it wasn't the week I was there.
Everything was
Peter Paul, would you grace us with another reading?
Sure. Do we have time?
Yes,
yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
This one,
In 4
this one
hours.
lasts about 3 minutes. This is one about one of my great grandfathers. I mentioned him earlier. His name was. Here, I'll show you this picture. That's Charlie Quinn. Charlie Quinn.
Yep.
Born on a
Charlie.
farm just west of Toronto in Albion County. No, Peel County.
Yep.
Township of Albion. And he was a farmer, but not much of a farmer, actually. He was one of those fellows who, when the real work was to be done, Charlie was the last person you could find. However, if a party or a dance was in the offing, why, he'd be there with bells on. So this is a piece I wrote. It's called Tilbury, that's where he lived, Tilbury, Ontario man, lights cigar, attends local function, has good time. And in this poem, I try to describe what an eyewitness saw him do on his way to a dance. Within 4 quick strides, he was able to find a cigar in his pocket, get a match out of his hat band, and strike the match on the sole of his shoe and get his cigar going without breaking stride at all. That's the kind of man he was. So a quick sip of this delicious water.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. Tilbury, Ontario man lights cigar. Attends local function, has good time. This feat may have been witnessed on dozens of occasions by hundreds of people, or an idle bystander may have seen it just the once and appreciated the flourish. Either way, anyone who saw him coming those Saturday nights, all mustache and derby and kneecaps, could tell he was not thinking about his great-grandchildren, not much. Still, some way, they've been handed down this picture. Not a snapshot, no, but a few feet of silent film, let's say, showing him as lively once as a string of firecrackers on a dark road, or a rooster with a hat on, juggling a hen's eggs. As lively as that, yes, and who'll say that he wasn't? But that's him now, Charlie Quinn, in his heyday, man of purpose in full swing, all spiffed up for the harvest dance, gallivanting up Queen Street in 1885, shoulders back, eyebrows arched. You can't hear it, but he's got on corduroy pants and hard shoes on a plank sidewalk. He's a drum roll, a commotion, and here's what he doesn't know. 2 times a Catholic husband and father of 9 to be. Already bucking to the tune he wants to hear. A pan of corn about to pop. And now, 2 blocks from the hoopla. This is it. Watch him. Close your eyes and see him. Close your eyes, please. Within 1, 2, 3, 4 quick strides. Produce with the left hand a cheroot from his inside right coat pocket and clench it, 1, in his teeth. Thereupon with the right hand draw a wood match from his hatband and poise it, 2, before his avid eye. See, with a downward stroke on the sole of his upraised left brogan, how he strikes the match and cups the flame, 3, with the left hand and inhales smoothly, sparking his cigar with 4, no break in step. Or loss of kick. You may open your eyes now. Okay, try this stunt yourself, and then try it again. It took him some practice behind the barn, and even now you can tell he wanted it known he was no clod kicker, but a dancing man. And so, one flickering glimpse, preserved on eyes long shut, giving us the reveler, the enthusiast, the dashing young gossoon, and the whiff of smoke that recalls him hot-footing by.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I saw him.
I
Literally, like I
Did
can
you?
visualize him.
You are him.
He'd be 164 years old
Wow.
this coming May 25th had he been spared, but
Spared.
that's how it goes.
This could really go on for 3 or 4 hours, as far as I'm concerned. It's just amazing.
Oh, I'm just getting warmed up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see
Well,
there's
we
only
know
a
it's
minute
not like
left,
it's
so-
not like we have any.
We don't
time
have
limits.
sponsors
You don't
telling us to stop, so
We're independents.
You know, it's
Oh.
true.
That's why we stay indie.
We're totally.
I'm
we're totally-
100% indie.
And I'm
Well,
hoping.
I have sponsors. You know, there's
Oh.
Lumbago Way,
Okay.
which is a terrible product. I was compelled to advertise a few years ago. Lumbago Way burned. It was sticky. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm
Be
glad
careful
that
with the sponsors.
that endorsement has been
expires.
It's wrapped up.
it's passed over. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're endorsed by Geritol, and we've done several commercials for Geritol and Cort guitars, which are like a total entry level guitar. And I get a new Cort guitar every 10 years.
You know, funny thing, Geritol, I can't find Geritol. Now that I'm old enough to need it,
Yeah.
I can never find it on there. Have they gone out of business?
No, Peter Paul. I get it on. I'm on the black market, like I'm on the deep web, or whatever it's called, the underweb.
Dark
and what's it called?
Dark web.
Yeah, the undergarment web. And I get gallons of Geritol, and that's what keeps me going. You know, you're not going to believe this. I was born in 1925.
Wow.
You don't say.
You don't
I sleep in the fridge and I drink Geritol. That's how I spend my day.
My goodness. Well, it's done wonders for your skin as well.
He's a wonder. He's a wonder.
Yeah.
Sylvia, I think you have a question.
I did have a question, but it's gone out of my head. No, I will have a question, but I also would like to have folks notice that right above us here, it tells us that you too can belong to the private Facebook group called Don't Mind, People Who Don't Mind, Peter Paul Van Camp. I'm still waiting for my approval. You know,
Wait a
it
minute.
is a
I
process.
approved you the
Oh,
other
did
day.
you? Oh, good. I thought it was your team of approvers, but well, that's great. So it's pretty easy to join then.
And-
Facebook group.
Well, no, you just have to get past me. And then
And
perfect.
the other thing we should mention is that you've been spending, as you mentioned earlier off the top, a lot of time taping your readings, and you've been posting them on your own Peter Paul Van Camp YouTube channel. So I would encourage everybody who wants to hear more of Peter Paul Van Camp, because we all want to hear more of Peter Paul Van Camp, to go to his YouTube channel. Just Google Peter Paul Van Camp YouTube, and it'll take you right there.
Pop, just like
And
that.
subscribe to the channel, and then check out all the videos and like them, because they're delightful. They're wonderful and delightful.
Every detail. Even I can't stop thinking about the inside-out undershirt that you mentioned in the earlier introduction poetry, because that means it's just so much more comfortable with the
well,
seam
it's an
on
old
the outside.
theatrical superstition. If you put your undershirt on inside out, you'll have a good performance.
Okay.
So if you do it deliberately, I think it still applies.
Okay.
You do less laundry too.
And we absolutely. And when things open up again, do you have house concerts and coffee houses and festivals on tap?
I had a whole raft of them scheduled for last year, which had to be canceled.
Yes.
So the minute we get the all clear, I'll probably be trying to organize. Working with people like in Winnipeg, like Kate Ferris and
Yes.
Fred Casey again, and people around Toronto like Danny Greenspoon and Joel Zifkin in Montreal. And I did, well, Paul, now you live in Cambridge. I did a show just 4 years ago in Cambridge with Garnet Rogers at Alison Lupton's house. Were you there by chance?
No, I wasn't. I've moved.
Oh.
I've moved from Cambridge since recently. I moved out of Cambridge. I can't tell anybody where I am, but no. Anyway, it sounds amazing. Too bad.
So that's what that's my plan. I'm afraid a lot of the clubs may have, had to close for good. It's hard to say what's going to happen because everything's always been running on a shoestring, and with a year of no revenue whatsoever, we don't know.
When your
do.
plans are known, please let us know, and we'll
I will.
and we'll let our audience know where they can see you, especially if you're coming to Southern Ontario, because a lot of the folks who watch the show are from Southern Ontario. Although we have a big contingent out there in Vancouver. Hey, Vancouver.
Oh, good.
Peter Paul Van Camp, it's come to the time of the show where we have to talk about your rider. Most of the guests we have, they have very, very tough negotiating lawyers, but I really must say that your people were wonderful to deal with. They were polite, they were gracious, they were real teddy bears.
They'll say just about anything.
They were.
So I think you're saying that they maybe aren't. They look like teddy bears.
Well, no, I think they were actually real teddy bears.
What?
I think his negotiating team were actual real.
But with COVID-19, how did they get together?
By Zoom. By
There you
Zoom.
go.
Oh,
This is
well,
Zoom.
that makes
Over
sense.
there.
Makes total sense.
This is the Peter Paul Van Camp legal team, and we sent our ace negotiator Fluffy into the boardroom to negotiate on our side. And,
He sucked.
Peter Paul Van Camp, who has he's got a very distinctive garb. And he wants to protect that image, so he sent in his fashion consultant, his fashion rep, to also join the conversation. and what was negotiated was, as you can notice, our guest Peter Paul Van Camp loves the bow tie, and he wants to get out and continue performing when we can all get the all clear, and so. We thought we would give him a choice of bow ties that can be done at maybe some unusual venues that he's never played before. So
good job,
here's the
Fluffy.
first choice, Peter Paul. If you get in the circuit of Italian suppers and dances that perhaps
You look at that now.
yes, and the advantage of this bow tie is that after the dinner, if you hadn't had enough to eat, you can actually eat the bow tie and.
Well, you know, Rob, I never eat before a performance, but I'm awfully peckish the moment I'm done.
When you're done, there you go.
Well,
That one might not last long.
This serves double duty.
Perfect.
And the next choice of bow tie is if you ever get invited to do a punk rock festival, any emceeing. Although this one comes with a warning, there could
That's
be
dangerous.
puncture wounds, so you have to be extremely careful if you get that.
I
gig.
think I know better. I've, as I say, I've been around the block a few times, and I made demure at that offer.
All right. The third choice is if you appear at a casino, a gaming house. We thought that this might be a tie that would appeal to you.
Oh, it's a lot of
The last one, which is a very special tie, is if you were ever to appear at Comic-Con. We thought that this would be an ideal choice if you were to appear and give a reading at Comic-Con.
Oh, there's quite a few choices there. Just can only choose one, I guess. Though, hey, Rob, is that the contract you figured
I
out?
think your people were very gentle on us. They said, just one choice would be sufficient, and the four choices we laid out, they thought might appeal to you.
So what is it? The cheapest one is the first one.
I have no qualms about wearing something like that.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have the Farfalle.
There it is, folks.
The Farfalle bow tie will be
Very nice.
waiting for you in the green room. And before you go to the green room, usually we do a outro video, but I think you've agreed to do an outro recitation for us.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show.
you for your.
Thank you so
This
much.
has been
Yeah.
a thrill.
Folks, it's been my pleasure.
Wish we
this
had
is a real step up for me to be actually having people to talk to while I.
Well, we'll do
Well, I
it
do-
again.
Yeah.
So here, by the way, I'm wearing a wooden bow tie for the occasion.
Look
Oh,
at
excellent.
And here's a little piece called Lively On and Lively Off. Must audience yawn? Must audience cough? Get lively on, get lively off. Open like a ton and finish up boffo. Lively on and lively off. Oh, you start 'em with a wow. You do your middling stuff. You treat 'em to a bonbon, and kid, that's enough. Get gone once you've given 'em your gaudiest guff. That's lively on and lively off. I said lively on and get off.
Whoa, where'd he go? He's gone. That's amazing.
Poof.
Peter Paul Van Camp. What a wonderful performance.
you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And
Paul's
we're-
got Fluffy busy there.
Fluffy, you're being very busy with the sound effects. A little intrusive, but not too bad. Next week we have Fluffy, for the love of God. Fluffy.
He's been waiting
You've been
for months to
Total,
do that.
you're a total pig, Rob. You blame him Fluffy. What is that?
If you can't blame the rabbit, I mean,
Stop it!
sorry.
It's a live show, for Pete's sakes.
Okay.
Gotta go to doctor.
It had to happen. This finally had to happen.
Well,
This is-
next week we're
And Peter Paul Van Camp being such a gentleman. and
such a
all.
gentleman. You just good thing you waited.
It had to happen.
Thank you. We're very pleased
Doing
to announce
this for
that
75 weeks.
we've done it for 75 weeks in a row, weekly.
I'm sick of this thing.
Well, next week, guess what? The special guest will be the Water Street Blues Band. It'll be an entire show with Rob
Ooh,
and Sylvia
Boo.
and Paul.
Yippee.
Yay!
Fluffy.
And Fluffy.
the whole family, the whole dysfunctional, sick
Telefono.
arrangement.
Pronto.
Who has a
Telefono.
band with a rabbit?
We do. We can't afford people. We can't afford
Enjoy
people.
it.
We can
Enjoy
only afford the
enjoy
rabbit.
your rabbit.
Well,
Caca.
folks, I really want to thank.
Keep going.
Are you done, Fluffy? Anyway, we really want to thank you all for being here tonight. We're really thrilled, and we were really thrilled and thankful that we had a wonderful guest, Peter Paul Van Camp, on as our guest. And next week, our guest will be us. And I think it's time to pack up.
Oh, it's totally time.
It's
to pack
totally
up.
time to pack up.
We've gone overtime. Don't tell the network. Oh, just so childish. Immature.
Fluffy.
Bye-bye. Good luck.
We're the Water Street Blues Band, and you've been listening to Talkin' About Live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 in the morning, Borneo time. Thank you for being with us. Tonight's guest was Peter Paul Van Camp, and next week, it's starring the Water Street Blues Band.
Ooh.
It's us. It's all us, 100%. Peter Paul Van Camp's going to go have breakfast now because it's like breakfast time where he is.
Lots of movie clips, and we can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
And everybody have a happy Easter.
We'll if you missed the beginning of the show or the middle of the show or the end of the show or you're not even watching it right now, guess what? You can. It's going to be sitting there on
it's
Facebook,
enough.
on YouTube, on Twitchlandia, and maybe
over.
even on Instagram and Twitter.
Show's over.
Good night, Paul.
Okay. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen.
Good night, Paul.
Good night, Kojak.